So deep bow and welcome, appreciative welcome to everyone who is here. We are going to get started with our community live group meditation practice. Today we're going to focus a little bit more heavily on the meditation itself, the practice of meditation. And over on YouTube, you'll see that the title is How to Open the Third Eye as Taught by a Real Buddhist Monk. And so this is a little bit of a clickbait, but it's related to a teaching that I received recently about the third eye. So it's a common question that people ask or bring up to me as a monk. In spiritual circles or different situations, people who have come across spirituality in one way or another, they kind of get this idea about a third eye. What about opening your third eye? What is that exactly? I don't know. So most of the time I've kind of what's the word for it? But, kind of said to those people, no, enough. There's no third eye. That's just nonsense. Hi there, Chesh. But recently, a good friend of mine and a kind of a teacher of mine sent me a link to a talk on the third eye, this idea of the third eye. And it's basically pretty simple. We have two eyes. We have two material eyes, right? That are looking out and can see the world, can see the material world. And this is what we mostly use, is our material eyes. The third eye is not some, like pineal gland, DMT, spiritual eye or whatever, some, an eye opens up on your head or something like that. The third eye is your capacity to look inward. You have two eyes that are always looking out towards material things. Your third eye is this ability, this capacity to turn the mind around, okay? To start looking inside, to start being aware of the functioning and the principles of the mind itself, the body itself, whatever it might be, okay? To turn inward. So the practice of opening the third eye and how to open the third eye is to stop what you're doing. Okay, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're involved with, this kind of activities and habits of interacting with the outside world, liking and disliking and judging and preferences, is to stop all that, turn the mind around and begin to look inward, begin to look inside and to kind of investigate this case of truth, this treasure store that we have within ourselves, okay? And the beginning points of that treasure store and what we have within ourselves, okay, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind, that's enough. Your heart, your organ of a heart, your foot is a treasure store, okay? We go to CVS or we go to the gym or we go for a walk outside and we're confronted by the reality of other living beings, right? Other people and other situations that are outside of our control. So we get into these complicated ways of thinking about me, myself, and others and all this. Your foot is more important than that. So focus on your foot. Be aware of your foot. And this is opening your third eye. All right, so how to open your third eye? Focus on your foot. Become interested in your foot nature, okay? Become interested in the experience of having feet right now. If you don't have feet, find something that you do have, right? Lungs or a heart or eyes. Start to focus on that and look inwardly. Look at what is happening right now and be with that and touch that, okay? With an open heart and with a flexibility. That you're willing to kind of explore and be with this direct human experience and not be so stuck on your ideas of the past or the future, or your how perfect and wonderful you are, or how horrible and miserable you are. Both of them are incorrect. Neither of them are valid or true or reliable upon. Just laughing seeing Kit here. He's got a zoo in his house. Every time he's got so many different animals. Each one is a different one, kind of showing up and appearing here in the Discord. So that's the power of online space. We can bring our zoo with us. We can bring our animals with us. So, how to open the third eye? Focus on your foot. Stop what you're doing, judging, thinking, um, like and dislike, and turn the mind around. Okay, start to look inwardly at what is happening in the body. Okay, the eyes themselves. Right. Think about how much. Use your two physical eyes to open your third eye. All right. So think about how much value, how much importance we give and we place on the things that we see and the capacity to see. All right. It's very, very valuable to us. It's very, very important to us. If we lost our sight right now, it's an emergency. You're calling 911. You're screaming at the top of your lungs if you lose your sight, if you lose your ability to hear. But how often are we actually giving our attention, our interest into the eyes themselves, the experience of the eyes themselves? The seeing itself, right? It's pretty important, but we don't give attention to it. We're just, constantly spiraling out of control all the time. And then oftentimes when we consider to practice in this way or to look in this way, to turn inwardly, there's some argument or there's some justification about, well, I haven't been a perfect person or this and that, or, I'm not going to be able to completely become enlightened right now, so I'm not going to do anything. If your hands are dirty, you don't need to take a shower to wash your hands, okay? You can just go and wash your hands. So at this moment, we don't need to fix all of reality, but we can kind of start to notice the seeing itself. Okay, start to touch the hearing itself. This is to open our third eye, this capacity to look inward, all right, to our direct reality unfolding here and now, which is non-conceptual, it's not judgmental, it is not reliant on a someone or a something or a story. We can say it is coming from this all-inclusive, all-compassionate spaciousness, right? That is fully available to us regardless of what happens. We think of, well, I did this and I did that. I stayed up too late. I woke up at this time. I ate this, and I didn't go to the gym or whatever. I didn't exercise. But actually, this kind of spaciousness, this openness, is available to us not only in the midst of all that, these kind of shallow thinking about ourselves and the world and judging ourselves, but if your arm is cut off, if you lose your sight, this is available. This is accessible. This remains untrammeled, unobstructed. Okay, so there's no excuse, there's no justification to not enjoy this and to step into this truth. Okay, and this is our practice. This is our meditation. This is opening the third eye, turning the mind around, beginning to become aware of reality, okay, our reality body. Any questions about that? About opening the third eye as explained in this way?
I have a question.
All right, go ahead, Guy. Get free
Um,
taco. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've had some experiences in meditation where it's like normal meditation. It starts off normally. Um, there's blackness and nothingness, and then there's like this, like I'm trying to switch on a light, but it's flickering, and I get some thoughts, and then I lose the thoughts, and just it's still flickering, like I'm not getting it, and then it goes away, and I go back to just normal meditating, and then I finish the meditation. And the thing is, it happened like a few times, like 2 or 3 times. So I was like wondering, like, was that a failure, or like, I didn't treat it as a failure. I was like, well, I guess that's what happened. And but I was expecting like something more. So like, what could that be? Like, yeah, this.
Okay. So the more that you expect something more, the more failure you will get. And the failure in this is attaching to or hanging on to that one particular meditation experience. Even the greatest, most profound, most earth shattering meditation experiences, the value that comes from them is our experience of detachment. Okay, and that experience of detachment empowers us and supports us to further practice letting go and not getting stuck on any one particular experience. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So today, like I was saying, we're going to focus a little bit more on the opening of the third eye, the meditation itself. Recently, we've been looking at some teachings and kind of going through them. And so today I consider that it'll be nice to do some of this investigation process um, for ourselves. And it's less accessible. Okay, it's less accessible to practice meditation rather than listening to the teachings. So a lot of Buddhist people in Buddhist countries and Buddhist society, they are, they go to hear a Dhamma talk. They don't go to hear to practice meditation. They want to hear the meditation teachings. They want to be um, maybe deceived is a little bit harsh, but they want to be entertained and they want to hear some skillful words. But the real beneficial, the most beneficial, what's going to bring us the most blessings is our real meditation practice, our turning the mind around and finding it out for ourselves, seeing for ourselves the truth of this present moment experience. Okay, so that's what we are going to emphasize and what we're going to do together today. And I encourage everyone, this needs to kind of be brought up and reminded that there's a lot of people here right now. We've got 20, 30 people who are gathered together right now, and some of us, we can see each other on camera. Those are probably real people. Who knows what's going on, but these are all real people who are here, right? And so, so there's a power that comes from that. Okay, but because we're online and because we're in the comfort of our own homes, it's easy to just step out and leave and completely give up, even though there are other people here who are practicing, and the power that goes along with that is here. But it's easy to give up and to walk away. So, what I want to emphasize is that if you really are interested in meditation, if you really are interested in a spirituality, a waking up in this investigation, um, you want to take advantage of this opportunity. Okay, and it doesn't have anything to do with me. It's you taking advantage of this opportunity to investigate, to look inward, and to really be with the body. Okay, be with the mind and be willing to come back to that being with when you get distracted, when you feel ready to give up, when you feel that you can't quite continue, with a sense of gentleness and sincerity, coming back to the breath, the body, this willingness to be with. And as far as you can stay inside of this container, right, to not completely give up, then that's fine. So if you find yourself, you tried as hard as you could for your meditation, and then you I can't do it anymore, whatever, just go lay down or start shaking your body around, but don't fully leave this space. Don't fully leave this container of the community here live. Try to stay with it. And even if you're laying down, or even if you bring your phone into the bathtub or something like that, still staying in that container and staying with this meditation way of being, this turning inward, is can help. Okay, and that's what you really get the good benefits from it. To stay with it as long as you can. All right, and we can't always be gathered like this together, so there's we want to take advantage of it. Okay. So, to introduce our meditation practice, I'm going to be reading from some a Zen teaching, and we will listen to that as kind of our introduction to the meditation mind and meditation way, and then we'll drift into some more silence and depth of looking inward on our own. So first and foremost, we need to find our meditation position. Okay, find that position for your body that is upright, comfortable, simple, and stable. And as we find our meditation position, we also find our body that's here at the present moment. We can find our seeing rather than that which is seen. We can find our hearing rather than that which is heard. We can find the breath as it's happening in the present moment, rather than all of our convoluted thinking, desire, past and future. And it's from this place that we will listen to these Zen teachings to invite us for our meditation. So this is titled Zen Seeking by Ying An. A grand master said, "With uniform equanimity, everything disappears of itself." Equanimity is this mental calmness, mental composure, mental balance. A grand master said, "With uniform equanimity, everything disappears of itself. Only then do you attain great effectiveness." So it's not by doing anything, but with this calm, balanced mind. Everything disappears of itself. Everything takes care of itself. Only then do you attain great effectiveness, the effectiveness of non-doing, non-striving. When you come to the boundary of life and death, you calmly become absolutely still, without any further effort whatsoever. Just being so, like a great polar mountain. Does that not hit the mark? just like this, just being the way that we are right now, without any further effort trying to change or control. Does that not hit the mark? Zen students in recent times may call themselves seekers, those interested in the truth. But wherever they take up residence, they just keep false ideas in their minds, making contentious disputation a way of life, making finding debate, finding argument, finding something to be disturbed about a way of life. These kinds of people are really pitiful. Genuine seekers are not like this. Observe how the ancient sages, enlightened beings, since time immemorial, went from community to company, got to know genuine spiritual friends, and spent 10 or 20 years retreating into themselves, like dead ashes and withered trees, carefully finding out what is at the root and the stem. They had to find reality before they could adapt to conditions while remaining natural and spontaneous. Worthy of the name of a Zen student or a high-minded pilgrim. If your state of mind is not dear, if your state of mind at this present moment, if your state of the body at this present moment is not precious, dear, how can you stop arousing your mind and stirring thoughts 24 hours a day, like countless waves lapping all around? How can you dissolve them away? At this point, if you have no penetrating liberation, you are just an ignorant thief stealing the community's food. When your time is up, all the mechanical knowledge and intellectualism you have acquired in your life will be of no use at all in facing death. Even if you do countless good works all your life, you will have less and less hope of transcending birth and death. You will only get human or heavenly blessings and rewards. When the rewards are finished, as before, you have no way out. The prescription is this: make the state of your mind at this present moment dear to you, precious. Stop arousing and stirring judgments, preferences. Stop trying to control. Rather, take the state of your mind at this present moment. Take the state of the body at this present moment to be precious, dear, essential, interesting. Bring this state, this present experience to the forefront of life. Stay with that. Be with that. When the intellectual, mechanical knowledge starts to rear its face, starts to get involved, step back and return to this looking, this being with the present mind, the present body. And for this, we rely on our sincerity to face, to be with. We rely on our capacity to be gentle, calm, aware, to soothe those waves of disruption, those waves of judgment. Just sitting, breathing, being aware as we relax and release any tensions, any boundaries, any mechanical intellectual knowledge. This is our practice of meditation together. So really make sure that you are in a comfortable, gentle, wholehearted position, and letting the body be the body, sitting the body down. Let's step wholeheartedly into this practice of just sitting, just breathing, just being aware, and taking the state of this present mind to be most dear, most precious. Just breathing and aware. Whatever we become aware of, coming back to the present body experience, coming back to just breathing and being aware. all thoughts or disruptions, just coming back to the breath. Coming back to this great interest, not in some story or thought, but this present moment experiencing. The experiencing itself, the breathing itself, the noticing itself. Don't get caught or stuck. Continue breathing, continue noticing, continue relaxing, releasing, refreshing, and restarting. Nothing to get stuck on or attached to. Just breathing and aware. Feeling each and every subtle moment of the breath, of the body. Completely letting go of our reliance on the content of the mind or the body, and instead the awareness itself, the noticing itself, the breathing itself. We're learning to take a step back from our experiences, pleasant or unpleasant. You feel pleasurable and vibed out, take a step back, just aware, just breathing. Pleasant or unpleasant thoughts or experiences, take a step back. Don't become involved or attach to any state or experience or thought. Just breathing, just being aware. At those times that we may become confused or unsettled, we just breathing, nothing to be confused about, nothing to get or reject, just breathing, just following the breath as it flows in and flows out at this present moment. Mind is always trying to go out, find something sweet, something sour, something to fill the belly, something to fill the mind. So there's this great joy in our meditation, in the midst of meditation, to bring the mind back, just sitting here, just breathing, just being aware, opening, expanding out, opening out, breathing and aware right here where we are. Nothing to seek out, nothing to get, and nothing that can obscure this or defeat us at this moment. Just breathing, just being aware. And nothing interferes with this practice. The mind does this, the body does that. There's no interference. There's no problem. If the body becomes too painful or stuck, we stretch out. Make sure that we're comfortable. If the mind becomes too stuffy, tight, involved, we can breathe more deeply or breathe out. Be flexible with how we breathe and how we show up. Then the body settles, or it doesn't. The mind settles, or it doesn't. And we step in to this opening, this turning in, just sitting, just breathing and being aware. Major part of our meditation is this practice of being willing to give things up. Wow, what a good idea. Oh my gosh, what a bad idea. Bodily or mental experiences, willing to give them up, willing to step back from that and return, just breathing and being aware. everyone. So the final portion of our gathering together is going to be a chant. So this will be a chant of the Heart Sutra, and this is a very popular chant or sutra teaching in the Mahayana school of Buddhism, the Zen school of Buddhism, and some important terms to know are bodhisattva, which means it's just like a great archetype of ending suffering of all beings, putting off our own awakening to benefit others, to take care of others. Shariputra is kind of a character from the Buddhist history that is spoken to in the sutra, the one who's being spoken to. Prajnaparamita is like insight wisdom. So when we're practicing our introspective meditation, we can say it's the quality of the wisdom mind. And the 5 skandhas are the forms, feelings, perceptions, inclinations, discernment, basically everything that makes up our human experience. Okay, and then the final part you'll hear is gate gate paragate parasamgate bodhisvaha, and this means gone, gone, gone beyond, gone fully beyond to the other shore. Okay, the shore of peace, the shore of enlightenment. All right, so we can all bring our hands together as we chant this sutra. You can just listen along, and as we listen and as we chant, if you know some of it, our mind and our blessings and the peace that the wisdom that we've brought about here, expanding out and sharing out inside and out. Okay? Maha Prajna Paramita Heart Sutra. When the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara was coursing in the deeper Prajna Paramita, she realized that all the 5 skandhas are empty, thereby transcending all sufferings. O Shariputra, form is not other than emptiness, and emptiness not other than form. Form is precisely emptiness, and emptiness precisely form. So also are sensation, perception, inclination, and discernment. Shariputra, this form of the emptiness of all dharmas is non-arising, non-perishing, non-impure, non-pure, non-increasing, and non-decreasing. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, and no sensation, perception, volition, or consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, or mind. No sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, or thought. There is no realm of the eye, all the way up to no realm of consciousness. There is no ignorance, and also no ending of ignorance, through to no aging and death, and no ending of aging and death. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, and also no attainment. With nothing to attain, bodhisattvas relying on prajna paramita have no obstructions in their minds. Having no obstructions, there is no fear, and departing far from confusion and delusion, they reach ultimate nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future, relying on prajna paramita, attain supreme Buddhahood. Therefore, the prajna paramita is the great mantra of power, the great mantra of wisdom, the supreme mantra and the unequaled mantra which is able to transcend all sufferings. It is real and not false. Therefore, he uttered the mantra of prajna paramita by saying, Gate, gate, para, samgate, bodhisvaha. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, and we can all bow. So, no attainment, nothing to get rid of, nothing to solve, nothing to fix, and no one to solve it. Just breathing, just being aware. That's a little bit of a taste of a Zen practice, okay? Wisdom practice. All right. Any questions or sharing experience before we wrap up here today?
I just wanted to say thank you. The Pons and I have enjoyed the meditation on the couch. And I just wanted to say thank you. I've been going through a rough week, and this has been really beneficial to me.
Thank you, Cassiana. Okay. So thank you all for being here. And we should meet tomorrow at the same time. And Simcha says, I have work test tomorrow and feel less anxiety. That's good. That's great. So hope to see you all again soon. Be happy, be peaceful, and thank you for being here with me.
Thank you, Bante. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. So for those watching on YouTube, I will be hosting a Q&A on Reddit. So if you'd like to check that out, then I'll also be sharing that here on the stream. But it'll be quite a bit different from our group meditation, so don't feel locked in to stay here and watch. It'll be just answering questions from people who come up. Okay, so hello everyone who is joining here on Reddit. We'll take a few moments to give people time to join in, and then I'll give a basic introduction of who I am and what we'll be doing here in this live Q&A. Take a few moments for people to join in. Welcome everyone who's joining. And we still have some people watching on YouTube from the group meditation class that I held, and maybe some people watching on Facebook as well. All right, so lots of people here now. Hello, everyone. I am Bhante Warapanyo. I am a 29-year-old American Buddhist monk. And a part of my life and practice as a monk is that I teach meditation online, and I host things like this, live Q&As, or an opportunity for people to ask questions and get advice from a Buddhist monk. It seems to be something that a lot of people are interested in, certainly in Buddhist countries and places in Asia, but also Western people tend to be interested to learn about the Buddhist perspective on a wide variety of topics. And in being here, I hope to give people an accessible opportunity to ask questions and to get advice and to just share. Keep in mind that I am not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, and that the best way that I'm able to answer your questions is if they are direct and clear and don't include too much kind of trying to introduce yourself or tell about your whole life, because we don't have so much time for that to get to know someone. I won't be able to get to know you in this period of time. But moving forward, if you're interested, then you can follow up with me and try to connect with me moving forward. So how we basically do this is that it's totally community run. It's completely dependent upon the people that come up and the questions that they ask, what we talk about. And you can do that in two ways. One way is that you can raise your hand and be brought up to the stage, and then you can ask a question with your voice. And the other way is that you can leave a comment in the comment section of this live talk. Also, if you would like to see me, if you would like to see who you're talking to, I did put a link in the comments with a link to the live stream on YouTube. So you can click on that and you'll be able to see me live and in person on my camera, on my YouTube, okay? So we'll start bringing people up to ask questions. We'll bring up Unknown, Hayden, Pistachio, and Salt Mine. Bring you up. And you can also ask a question by leaving a comment in the live stream, or leave a comment on YouTube. You can also ask me a question that way. Okay, hello, Salt Mine. You have a question you'd like to ask?
I actually have two questions. Is that okay?
Okay, one moment. I just want to make sure that on YouTube people can hear. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my first question is, were you raised Buddhist, or was it something that you found later in life?
Okay, so was I raised Buddhist or something I found later in life? Growing up, I didn't have any connection with Buddhism or spirituality. My mom was kind of into self-help books, and probably some of them had some kind of spiritual leaning, or maybe touched Buddhism in some kind of way. I don't know if that was the case or not, but I didn't find Buddhism and meditation until it was after I found spirituality. So when I was 19 years old, I met a yoga instructor, and they introduced me to people like Alan Watts and some spiritual books, Buddhist books, and other kinds of spirituality. And that eventually led me to really get on the path and eventually live at a meditation center, and then a few years later, moving to Thailand to become a monk.
Okay. And my second question is, do you have any advice for people who are trying to better themselves, follow the right path, who have developed some pretty bad habits, like either in substance abuse or anything like that?
Sure, I mean, you're talking, I've got some pretty bad habits too, I think it's a very human situation that we tend to be quite unskillful, and animalistic in certain ways and ignorant in a lot of ways, right, as human beings. So, um, the two major things is finding community. Okay, so if you are, and we have to be more like flexible and less prideful and arrogant and less picky and choosy. I remember when I first really started to get into the process of becoming a monk, I was really picky and choosy, and I would say, no, this place isn't good enough, this community isn't good enough, this person isn't good enough, and I just got myself into more and more trouble and more isolated and more alone. So we have to be flexible and kind of open and less arrogant. Um, and if we can be that, then finding a community, looking around and finding a place or people where there's an opportunity to connect and to show up. Showing up is a big, big thing. And if you have substance abuse issues or any kind of addiction issues, and I mean, pretty plainly, we all have some kind of addiction problem. We have some kind of attachment desire problem that leads to a lot of our suffering. But if you have one that's specific, go to AA meetings. Go to some kind of meeting where you can be in community, whether it's with other addicts or join a meditation group, whatever, or a dog walking group. But through that process of just showing up, like exposing ourselves to the sunlight, a lot of the crust and the miserableness of our unskillful actions falls off. But if we're constantly stuck in a cave, in a room, in a controlled environment where we just meet our desires and try to avoid our pain, that's when stuff really gets out of control. But when we are exposed to the light of other people's awareness, other people's attention, other people's sincerity, it really opens us up. And then we're more able to take that backward step and try to make a skillful decision in our life rather than just acting and reacting according to our desires or our fears. So, being a part of a community, finding a way to be a part of a community, and don't be so picky. And then doing good deeds. Try to find something in your life to do a good deed. And it can be as simple as cleaning up a little bit in your house or your room, cleaning up your bathroom a little bit, or volunteering in some way, or calling up a family member and trying to be a helpful, supportive being, entity, presence. And when we experience our capacity to help other people, when we step out and we experience our capacity to be loved by others, well, what do we learn immediately from that? We have a capacity to love ourselves. We have a capacity to help ourselves. And that empowers us to, get involved in our lives more, taking care of ourselves more. And that way we have meaning in our lives and we don't have to only rely on our addictions or our unskillful ways of thinking or habit patterns to cope. But actually, we can cope by doing good deeds, which actually creates blessings or creates like a store of good effects. So find a community to be a part of and get involved in doing good deeds. Find your lane of doing good deeds in your life. That's my advice.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's go now to Is It Me? Is it me? You have a question?
Yes, hi. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. My question is, so I think as of late, I have been struggling with anger. And it's not just kind of anger that's happening to myself that I can kind of rationalize and justify. I guess it's mostly kind of like unjust actions that are happening globally, that are happening maybe to my family or to my friends on a bigger scale, like war or hunger. And I've noticed that I have a very difficult time dealing with those emotions on that kind of scale. Do you have any advice for me to help? Thanks.
Okay, thank you for your question. Anger as an energy, any strong emotion as an energy not to be rejected or tried to get rid of, but as something that is calling out for our attention from the inside. So when we feel that great anger or that great emotion, that great sadness, it's something that really needs our attention and needs our presence, needs our care. So when you feel that strong emotion, that strong anger, kind of step back from the situation or the person or the place or whatever it might be that's causing that anger, and turn your mind towards the experience of anger in your body, the energy itself, the experience itself of anger. And that is where you can kind of get some wisdom, get some understanding about the more subtle aspects of why this anger is arising and why you are not so able to deal with it skillfully. You know, what's your habit reaction to that anger that's making it something that you can't really use or get value from? Okay, so that's one side of it. The other side is that anger in itself, just like the reactive quality of anger, that push to do something or angry about someone or angry about something, is just a kind of poison. Okay. And so even though we may be able to experience this show of force that is seductive because we have that feeling of anger, we're still poisoning ourselves, we're poisoning the environment, we're poisoning the people that we hate and that we're angry about, and we're also poisoning the people who we're trying to cooperate with and work together with. So anger is something to be very careful of, not something to be rejected or seen as wrong, but more something that really needs our refined attention, our careful attention, and that we can only give that inside. So get involved with that process of facing and being with that anger, and understand that just acting and reacting out of anger is just a poison. And so when you fall into that habit way of doing things, be like, hold on a minute, this doesn't really work. So I'm going to investigate this and look into this in my body, the feelings of anger in my body, and kind of find out what's going on here. And that's just through your attention, not through your thinking. So like being with that feeling of anger in your body. Okay?
Thank you so much.
So we can go now to pistachios.
Hi, I was just gonna ask a question. Recently, I went only once to a Zen center in my area, which I had been trying to get myself to do for a long time. But afterwards, I felt kind of like not uncomfortable, but disillusioned with the quote unquote like path I had been on, and started looking at other Buddhist traditions. And I guess you talked earlier about not being too picky. How can we discern between like attachment to like an aesthetic versus like a right fit for practice, if that makes sense?
Sure. That's a pretty cool question. Thank you. Nice to hear from you. Nice to meet you. So, the main thing as like a Buddhist or a person who's on the path, you don't sound like you're 80 years old or whatever. So a younger person who's on the path and wants to get involved in meditation and get involved in, like, you want to know the truth about reality. And it doesn't need to be some tripped out psychedelic quote unquote spiritual thing, but you kind of want to know about a deeper truth about reality, not just politics and social media and this like reactivity towards ourselves and other people and this story of ourselves, but like we want to know about the truth. Okay, we want to investigate. So you're kind of in that situation, and if people who get into that situation, that way of thinking, I think it's really good. It's really wholesome. But it also, the core of it also relates to what Salt Mind mentioned about, what about people who have addictions or really unskillful ways of coping? What's one of the big things you think that they can do to support themselves, and help themselves develop? And it's find a community space to show up in, and don't be so picky and choosy. All right. So if you, in your situation, try to use that space as a place to show up and not being so picky and choosy, and be disillusioned. It's good in some ways to be disenchanted, but even though we are disillusioned or disenchanted, if we can still show up, if we can still be there, and if that place or that community, that environment can be a place where we can show up and not be, mistreated or abused or taken advantage of in some kind of way. I'm not saying just show up to the some kind of white supremacist meeting because there's people there, but if you can go to a place where you can show up and be present, then that's really good, and you should use that. And in the Zen sense also, and for a Buddhist person like you, if you can find a place where you can show up and there's a Buddha image there, and there's a meditation hall, and there's cushions, and there's other people who are on the path, then that's really good. You should take advantage of that. Also, if we want to change our stars, so to speak, or change our overall general kind of situation that we find ourselves in our life, you have to be ready to explore. You have to be ready to walk outside, even though you feel anxious about being outside, or you've been depressed for a while. There's this freedom and change and growth that comes from being willing to try and explore, even though you're not skillful, and even though you might be a little bit afraid and you don't know what the result is, or even maybe you have a strong idea that the result isn't going to be as ideal as you want it to be or as it could be, but you're still willing to try and explore. And so that's what we need. That's the kind of mindset we need to bring to communities. If you hear about a community, show up. And don't just show up once, but try and show up again if there's some avenue there for either you to be in a meditative state of mind, or a way to just be exposed, and or if there's an avenue for you to do good deeds in that community space, in that environment. And if you show up to those kinds of places, then there is going to be a real refreshing, restarting quality that it brings to the mind and to life, for sure. Now, pistachios in particular, and anyone who's kind of on the Buddhist path looking for a community, I do have a Discord server. And we have a community over there where we meet regularly for group meditations and all that kind of jazz. So we'd love to have you over there, pistachios, if you're interested, and anyone who's
Thank you.
interested. Yeah.
Yeah, that really spoke to my question. I definitely felt a lot of anxiety going to the Zen Center.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I probably will pop over.
Great. Okay, so we can go now to Joe Mama. Go ahead, Joe Mama.
First of all, sorry about the name. I I made it like not too long ago, and I just kind of stuck. I wanted to ask. I'm starting to get into my like teenage years, and my relationship with my friends and family is starting to crumble. And people have just said like that it's hormones and stuff. But I really want to know how to get back on track with my mom because she used to mean everything, like she still does, but I don't really show it as much, and I wish I would. I really do want to show it to her how much I love her.
Great. Thank you for sharing. That definitely hits home to me as well because as a monk, my relationships with family and peers and people who aren't like in the Buddhist community has changed a lot. So I can kind of resonate with what you're saying. Um, don't overthink it and don't try to solve that relationship or solve that problem or solve that issue. Just try to do something nice. It's that intentionality that, oh, you recognize the situation that you're in, okay? And you get grounded, okay? So you're aware of your body, you're aware of the present moment, like where you really are right now. And then from that place, just know your intention, check into your intention. So here, your intention is to like heal that relationship, do something to show your care, your love, and then do it. Do something simple. Invite them out for a walk, or invite them to have a coffee with you, or have a talk with you, or just kind of sit around them, hang around them, or tell them that you love them, you care about them. Um, and if you can follow through with that, it's just that intention that's really most important. It's not that you solve the puzzle or that you do one particular thing, but that it's you empower that intention and you step from that intention to act in a caring and sincere way. And people feel that right away. If you're sincere, people check into that 100%. So try it out, and I'm sure that your mom will appreciate that a lot.
Thank you. That was great advice that you gave. I will try it out. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Pistachio, for your question, and Joe Mama as well. Thank you for your question. So a lot more people have joined since we started. Quick introduction about me. I am Bante Warpanyo. I am a 29-year-old American Buddhist monk currently living in America, but most of the time I live in Southeast Asia, Myanmar, Thailand, Vietnam. I like to live over in Asia in a Buddhist community, Buddhist society. I'm a monk in the usual way that you'd think of a monk. So like wears robes all the time, shaved head. In my case, I don't have eyebrows either. Um, just a part of the tradition of monk life that I'm in, and everything that I do in my life is around Buddhism and meditation. So where I go, what I eat, the relationships that I have with people outside of like I have my nephew, and I'm not so much of a monk to my nephew. I'm just his uncle, kind of this weird uncle, but everything in my life is like around Buddhism, and I wear that through my robe and the way that I live. So a part of my life as a monk is to practice meditation, study Buddhism, study like the Buddhist teachings, and then also to do good deeds, to do this kind of social work or be an access point for people to learn about meditation or to just get advice from a monk, you know. So I'm not enlightened. I'm certainly not a perfect person in any way, but I'm a Buddhist monk. I'm 29. I've been a monk for 4 years, and I've been into meditation as a way of healing and dealing with my suffering, psychological, emotional, from the time I was like 19. So it's been almost 10 years, around 10 years that I've been on this path to kind of heal and develop. And I've made a lot of progress for myself, and it's something that supports me to continue making that progress is doing good deeds. And this for me is a way of doing good deeds, hosting these kinds of events, Q&A or get advice, whatever you want to call it. So the way that this goes is it totally depends on the people who are here and the questions that people ask. So there's two ways you can ask a question. One is that you can leave a comment on the post. Just write a comment and I'll try to look at it. But the ideal way to ask a question is to raise your hand, and I'll be able to bring you up to the stage and then everyone can hear the question that you ask, and you can ask your question with your voice. Please do try to be direct and clear with your question. I'm not a therapist. We don't have time to like get to know each other, so just as clear and direct as possible. And those are the kinds of questions I can answer. I'm not a therapist. So, all right. So let's dive in to this practice. And if you do want to see me, I am live on YouTube as well. I have a YouTube channel where I host group meditations, and I'm sharing the stream there. So if you want to see me, you can also go to the comments of this post and see that link, and you can come and see my monk body, not just my monk voice. Okay, so we'll bring up now Crazy Diamond, Tea with Tash, X Axon, and Sunny, and Black Platypus, and Jumpin' Jack, and my username. Okay, welcome up everyone. So let's start with Crazy Diamond. Do you have a question?
Yes. Well, my question is not like an advice. I'm just wondering. I actually thought about it today, so I think I just want to ask. I haven't seen many women being a monk, and I looked it up, and it says that in Thailand you cannot be a monk or something like that. Can you tell me about that?
The practice is true.
Sorry about that. I was muted on YouTube. There are certain countries that have cultural aspects that have qualities of sexism to them. And in that case, in Thailand, there's not a pathway for a woman to become a full monk, but there are in many places Buddhist countries where women can be monks. All right, so women can 100% be monks for sure. All right, so let's go now to Tea with Tash.
Hello. So I have a question. I am an animal advocate, especially for horses, and I do a lot of online work. And I stopped for a while because I was so angry. I was so angry. I was becoming someone that I didn't want to become. And from one side, I feel like I don't want to be aggressive, but from other side, like seeing someone like spanking an animal, it's, for me at least, is borderline impossible not to be this angry, and people saying it's okay. And so I would like to see, what would you do, and then how would you deal with that? How can you be an activist without so much hate and anger?
Okay, that's a great question, and something I'm very passionate about myself. Moving forward in my life, I hope to be able to support activism in those ways. Kind of giving supporting answers and information and wisdom for these kinds of questions. And there's a lot of monks. There's a lot of people who can give even better answers than I can in this kind of matter. But I'll offer what I can. Also, just a quick follow up on the past question about that women can't be monks, or that women can't be monks in Thailand. There's just certain cultural traditions that would not like to see women be monks for whatever reason. But in Thailand, there are female monks, quite a few. And throughout the world, there are many, many female monks. Okay, so women 100% can certainly become monks. So now anger in activism. I think that a lot of the work that needs to be done in activism, whatever kind of activism it is, needs a dimension of creativity that takes a quality of deeper understanding and mindfulness and detachment that as a Western people we aren't really equipped with and we don't have access points to. So that even though the intentionality behind the activism is quite clear and good and strong, and we could, I would even say right or righteous, there's not necessarily a real wisdom quality to it, a depth to it, just simply because we don't, outside of adversity in our society, we don't have that quality of depth of mind that is required to deal with a lot of the complex situations that are going on in our society. And because of the nature of this work of activism to be people who are less in power doing work to change the system of power and change the situation, activists cannot rely on force or material force to do what they want to do, because there are exponentially larger systems of force, material force built up to make sure that that's not possible. So then what is the solution? The solution is contemplative, creative approaches that are really founded on community development to deal with these problems and these issues in a more creative, subtle kind of way. And don't necessarily know what that's going to look like moving forward. But we have to really be creative, contemplative, introspective. And I think one of the biggest things is we need to learn how to build communities that are sustainable, cohesive, and able to be contemplative. I mean, I think about in our society how isolated we are. And when you live like that and you grow up like that, especially this new generation with their smartphones, and their parents also have smartphones, how to even have a relationship with two people is complicated and difficult, right? But we also know that's one of the most powerful things that we can have in our lives, is a relationship with someone that's really works, right? But to face these large issues that exist in society and in the world, we need groups of people that are communities and really powerfully integrated and supported and working together. That's what we really need, and we don't necessarily know how to do that. So what I want to emphasize in answering your question is community. Finding your community, not only to do the force, the rough engagement in dealing with these aspects of society that are really brutal and are really scary and can provoke anger, but also coming together in community to develop and support that that quality of healing. Circles of healing, circles of gathering and intimacy and non-judgment and sharing. And there are a lot of different ways to go about that, but emphasizing the healing, emphasizing the coming together, not just for forceful reactive action, but coming together in this kind of contemplative, sincere way of compassion, building compassion, developing peace and intimacy together. So that's what I can share. Anything else? Any follow-up about that? I know I touched on quite a few different things.
Well, if you don't mind, like for me, the hardest thing, and I feel like for other activists, is, for instance, like one time that I saw a video of a young boy, like spanking a horse, like almost killing it. And sometimes it's adults. And I really don't know how to deal with that much hate that comes to my body, that comes to my mind, and anger, because I'm divided, because at the same time, like I have some empathy towards that person, but when I see someone being, or even someone being racist, or someone being abusive towards a woman or a child, or I don't know, one man, and for me, it's so hard not to feel that much anger and trying not to feel that anger. Well, it's most that, like how to deal with that much anger and what to do with that.
I guess.
Yeah, great. Um, Sometimes I get a little bit inspired on a tangent. So for those people, one of the things to understand is that there are particular causing conditions that really they don't have any control over that have led them to expressing in that way. And so when we see someone act, almost for sure, like 1000%, when we see someone acting in a way that is causing others to suffer, causing animals to suffer, you can be sure that the reason they're acting that way is because they are suffering, because they are
Yeah.
going through this suffering. And if you were to, there's some saying about, if you were to look back at all of the actions and the situations and the uh, the conditions that led to that person, all that's person past that led to that present moment, then whatever action they were doing that led you to have that anger or that judgment towards them, if you were to look back at their past, you would be able to have compassion and understanding for what they're doing now, for why they're acting that way. And we can't control the world. We can't solve everything. But what we can do is bring a quality of deeper understanding to those situations of suffering, so that rather than trying to harm that person who's causing suffering, or being causing more suffering to ourselves, we can use those situations and difficulties as a like a place to heal, as an inspiring factor to go inward in ourselves and deepen our capacity for understanding and compassion and patience. And the deeper way of thinking about that from the Buddhist side is that it's not someone, it's not something. There's no one to be angry about. There's no one to be angry at. There's not one particular situation to be upset about, because nothing exists separate from anything else. So rather than getting angry at the effects, we should start to prioritize the cause. We should start to prioritize the actions that we take right now to end suffering, reduce suffering moving forward. And that especially means that rather than reacting to that effect or reacting to that expression of what's going on, person hurting a horse, or a person acting in a criminal way so that they need to be imprisoned or whatever, that we start to look into the causes that led up to that, and we start to understand those causes, and then we can take an action that helps to prevent those causes moving forward, and also to heal those people involved and to heal ourselves as we go through that whole process. Okay?
Okay. Yes, it's a point which I have to start from there. Yes, thank you.
So we'll go now to Axon, X-Axon.
Cool. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Cool. Hi. Thank you for doing this, by the way.
sure.
So my question is, um, what, how do we remain empathetic of others and ourselves, I guess, when life is treating us so good? Because I feel like some days, life, I'm not saying life is always going good. It has its ups and downs, but some days or weeks, I feel like I'm having a really good week or a couple good days in a row, and I'm like, I feel like I'm waiting for it to like come crashing down, but I'm like, but in those moments where I know where it's going good for me, I'm like, how do I just like in this good moment of my life, how do I, pass it on or like do better for others? It's like, because if it's as good,
Just embrace and love it.
thank you. Um, yeah, I just, do you know what I'm getting at? Yes. Or Jackson is fine.
So when we have that kind of peaceful, happy quality of mind, one of the nice things that we can do to benefit others is just to share our presence with them. When you have a presence of mind that is heartfelt, sincere, warm, just giving your attention and sharing with people can be really meaningful to them, even in a deeper way than you know. The issue that I think I have and people in general tend to have is that we don't know how to, and when we act like that, when we use what we already have, when we feel good, when we feel happy, not just to perpetuate our own happiness and be more selfish, but we use that to benefit others, we make more and more blessings, we feel more and more good, and we set ourselves up to receive the same kind of care from the outside world. When we do good deeds, good things happen to us one way or another. Okay, just the act of doing a good deed in itself is kind of a good thing happening to you. Just in the same way that you can understand if you do something bad, well, that's kind of something bad happening to you, right? So they perpetuate themselves. Good deeds lead to good effects. So the issue that I deal with, and I think a lot of people deal with, and kind of need help trying to solve this problem, is how do I do good deeds? How do I do skillful actions when I feel upset, when everything has crashed down, when I am feeling miserable, when I am feeling out of pocket, right? And so the answer to that is to try. Whatever state your mind is in, whether it's positive or negative or neutral, instead of just prioritizing this constant self-fixation, this self-attachment, this self-story that you're worked up in, that you're attached to, right? Start to get involved in doing good deeds with whatever you have, offering, sharing, whatever you have to bring benefit, to help, to advance, to take care. And we should use what we have right now to do good deeds. All right. And also to be not like think through everything, not solve everything with our thinking or our mind, but also to be aware of what's happening in the present moment. Be with the breath, be with the body, be here now, show up. You show up to your own life at this present moment through placing your attention, your interest on the breath, placing your attention, your interest on the body itself, the experience of the body itself right now. And so learning how to take a step back from our indulgence in pain or in pleasure or in boredom, and just kind of to take a step back and be aware, be mindful, be present. And then from that place of presence, do good deeds. And then even if you can't get any of that because your mind's too convoluted or stressed or doesn't make sense or you don't buy into all that, whatever it is, do good deeds. Find a pathway, find a way in your life to do good deeds, to do actions to help and to benefit others. And if you can do that, then the negative energy and the positive energy and the neutral energy are all being used to develop and advance yourself and others in wisdom and in merit. So like the good effects from doing good deeds. Okay?
Okay, I hear you. Thank you.
We'll go now to Black Platypus. Go ahead. You have a question?
Hi. Yes, I do. You spoke about finding a deeper truth and understanding reality for the way it is. And I just wanted to understand what your perspective on truth and reality is. And also in conjunction, if hypothetically, like Christianity, for an example, were true, and that was how reality worked, for an example, would you accept it as truth and become a Christian? How do you perceive Christianity?
So it's a lot of questions you got going on there. I appreciate your sharing. So the Buddhist understanding of truth is more about getting involved in the process of investigation. So if I was to be generous with Buddhism, I would say that Buddhism is a science of waking up. Okay, a science of ending suffering and establishing peace, well-being, and awareness. To be aware. And so what we emphasize in Buddhism in terms of truth is, rather than the content of our thinking or the content of the material world, we are emphasizing the awareness itself. Okay, the space in which the world exists, the space in which content exists. But that's not something that can be believed in or held on to. So Buddhism is a system of ethics, and this is what I think is true, or reality. If you live skillfully, if you do good deeds and live a good life, then your mind generally stabilizes and calms. And from a generally stable and calm mind, you will find yourself to be a human being. Sometimes, depending on how we as human beings act, we can find ourselves to be very animalistic. So even though let's say you're a human being, but depending on how you act, you might find yourself to be in a state that's not that different from an animal, where the only priorities of your mind are sex, sleeping, and food, period. So as human beings, we can bring a different dimension into our mind of introspection, a contemplativeness. And I think that to kind of really have that, to investigate, you have to have this foundation of goodness or overall skillfulness, sincerity to help, to bring benefit. It's a big part of it, following through with that. So the truth from a Buddhist perspective can really only be understood, and Buddhism in this way is a kind of invitation to investigate reality. Okay, and not to investigate reality through thoughts or through material, but through the investigation itself, the looking itself, the kind of turning the mind around, turning our attention around and starting to look into and investigate the heart, the body, the breath. And this is how we develop an understanding of truth, through our experience of introspection and almost scientific contemplation. As for Christianity, whatever works for people, if you're happy, if you're peaceful, and if you're living in a way that's supporting you to be more happy and peaceful and skillful, then that's really wonderful. And, I support you to continue doing that. I'm not here to convert anyone to anything. And really, even if everyone here, everyone in this entire Q&A wanted to, quote unquote, convert, and they were like, Bante, tell us what to do. We want to convert. We want to be a Buddhist. None of it would be about belief. It's about a practice. It's a way of showing up in your life, following precepts. So following ethical guidelines: don't steal, don't kill, don't lie, don't speak harshly, practicing meditation, and starting this process of investigation and study into the nature of your mind. And that's what it means to be Buddhist.
Yeah, it gave me some other thoughts, like uh like if if facilitating world peace was, if we agreed that that was important, and that if that could only occur if we understood a divine narrative, or if understanding that a divine narrative, hypothetically Christianity, was the only way to truly be moral people, then wouldn't that be the right choice to believe in? Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, but I'll give you a simple answer. In Buddhism, nothing is divine, which means everything is divine. Nothing is essential, which means everything is essential. something like that. That's our divine narrative. Okay, so anyone new here, I am Bhante Warapanyo. I'm an American Buddhist monk. We're having a kind of Q&A and advice stream. So this will be your opportunity to ask a question to a Buddhist monk and maybe get advice, or just ask a question that's not necessarily about advice. I am live streaming on YouTube right now, so if you'd like to see me, then you can click on the live stream link and see me on YouTube, see my face, see where I am. And the way that this works is simply that people are coming up and asking questions, and I'm sharing answers. So before we bring more people up, I'm going to look at the comments and see any comments that are standing out, and try to answer those. Make sure that I can answer. The question about women not being able to be monks is just certain countries, certain Buddhist traditions have a sexist quality to them, and certain ideas about that they don't think women should be monks, but I don't support that. How do you deal with anxiety? I think a willingness to be with anxiety is very important in dealing with anxiety. So like a willingness to feel and be okay with being anxious. I found that when I was younger, and still in my life now, the major problems that anxiety caused was my lack of willingness to to feel what I was feeling. And it was this where I would feel anxious. I would feel a feeling in my body. And I was like, no, I shouldn't feel that way. I don't want to feel that way. And then there would be like some thought in my mind about a social situation or myself or someone else that was like bouncing back and forth between this friction of I don't want to feel this anxiety. I shouldn't feel this. This isn't the right way to feel. And that thought and that feeling would just kind of expand and get bigger. And so too would my resistance or my rejection of that feeling, my rejection of that thought. And that just put me in a trap that was, kind of never ending. Oops. Uh-oh. Hello, everyone. I dropped out from the talk. I apologize for that. I was just giving an amazing, wonderful answer on dealing with anxiety, and the Reddit stream dropped out. So I hope if you want to check that out, just go to the YouTube live stream and go back 5 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever. But what I was saying is that I think the big way to deal with anxiety is be willing to feel what you're feeling when you feel anxious, and learn when you're not feeling so anxious, when you're not in like a stressful situation, learn how to feel yourself and be with your body and connect with the way that your body feels. Because sometimes we go into a social situation or we go out into the world, and all of the rest of the time we're always distracting ourselves. We're always consuming media. And so when we go out into the world, we have a physical sensation or a physical spirit, experience some anxiety, and then we panic, we freak out because we don't have much of a relationship with the body that has depth and meaning. We don't show up for ourselves. So when our body needs us to be there and like calm ourselves down, we don't know what to do and we panic. So that's my position on anxiety. Okay, so Coffee. I'm sorry I took a while to answer this question. Coffee says, thank you for hosting this. When are your meditation sessions? Okay, can you drop a link to the Discord? Yes, I can certainly do that. So what I am going to drop right now is a resource post of different resources for meditation teachings, Buddhist teachings. It includes my Discord server, my YouTube channel. It includes a book recommendation, recommended teachers, different models, different teachings on different subjects, and I invite everyone to check that out. So I'm going to post that in the comments right now. and it's not working. So anyways, I will post that, and keep looking at some of the questions here. You can see the live stream on YouTube. The live stream on YouTube also has my Discord linked in it. Oh, that's formatting's not going to work. Okay. One sec here. For this live Q&A, people can either ask a question with their voice or with a comment, but what's ideal is if people come up and use their voice, because that's kind of a more direct way to ask a question. Okay. So if everyone could go to the comments right now and sort by new, I just posted that resource list, which has my Discord, YouTube, book recommendations, some recommended teachers, some links to guided meditations, very high level guided meditations, not from me, and a lot of good things there. So if you all could upvote that, I appreciate it, so people can see it easily moving forward. And there's also a link to the live stream that is happening right now if you want to see me, if you want to watch through YouTube. Okay, so let's continue with this Q&A. And right now, the daily group meditation sessions that I host are mainly through Discord. That's our main community space. And those are at 8 p.m. New York time every day for the near future. So everyone's invited to join for those. Okay, let's continue on. Helen Nguyen on YouTube, can I please have a lecture one day? Every day at 8 o'clock New York time, I'm teaching and talking and answering questions and all that, so you're welcome to join. And also, do I believe in Amitabha Pure Land? Namo Ayira Phak. Sure, I believe in the Pure Land. But different words have different meanings to different people, and so we should never kind of skim the surface of our mutual understanding, but rather we should investigate and go deep and explore and discuss how we give meaning to words, so that we can understand our not only the words, not only our understanding of each other's words, but actually understand what is meaningful to one another and how we apply meaning to various words. And if both of us apply meaning to particular words, then that probably means that there's a lot of wealth that we can get out of exploring that together. Okay. So let's see any more questions in the comments, then we'll bring some people up. Okay. Helios says, what is your preferred way or ways you are aware of to truly put something out of your head till the next day? The example is trouble falling asleep because of a thought loop about something. Well, we're not always going to be able to fall asleep exactly what we want to. And your question is related to the elephant problem, okay? Everyone here, don't think of a pink elephant. So our desire, our force to reject some experience and reject our ideas, okay, is exactly what fuels this idea, this feeling, this thought. Okay? So we need to be open to feeling what we're feeling right now. And through that, we're able to fall asleep, and also we're able to let go of our rejection or attachment to that particular thought or idea. Okay? Sometimes stuff is tough. We also need to learn not how to get what we want out of life, but we need to learn how to be with the life that we have right now. Okay? You can lose your eyes, your vision at any moment, and you can't just plug it back in. We can lose anything at any moment, so we need to learn how to be okay with loss. and to be okay with what's happening right now, because that's where we're going to find the truth. Not in changing it or fixing it to be the way that we want it to be, but by facing and being with what is happening right now in a deeper and deeper way. That's how we know we can learn about the truth. Okay, so we're going to start bringing more people up to ask questions. We're going to bring up Celestial Chocolate, Commercial Button, P. Justin, Andrew, Homemade, Camp, and CPA, Certified Public Accountant, and also No Rise. All right? So let's start with Celestial.
Hello. Thank you for doing this. My question is, how does one truly heal from trauma? And a second part is that I'm experiencing a secondary trauma that happens from, the first trauma as a child leads to deficiencies or limitations in a personality that's a core part of my being. And it's leading to problems, as an adult with maladaptive behaviors and things that I just feel like I cannot shake. So, how do I first heal from the original trauma, which I thought I had healed from, but now there's the secondary trauma that's happening that I feel like is limiting life, enjoyment. The pressures of the world are just on top of the personal, the personal limitations that I feel like are due to the trauma. How does one really move on and heal from that?
Thank you, Celestial, for your sharing, and I hope that my answer can help. What I can speak about is the principle as I understand it, and the function is something that you should do your best to find and follow through with, the acting out, the following through of healing. And you can heal. We can deal with these things for sure. But a lot of times we're lacking some of the principles or principles that may support us to do it. Okay. So one principle, hopefully I'm using this word right, I don't know, is a loving kindness. Okay. So developing this practice, this capacity, this feeling, this energy of loving kindness, of friendliness towards ourselves, at the present moment, towards ourselves as that child or that person who went through that trauma, and also towards the experience. Okay, developing this quality of friendliness towards that experience. And to do that, we do need we need to feel supported in some way to be able to develop that. Okay, but that loving friendliness that fully applies to all aspects of ourselves, and that includes that experience or those experiences, whatever they might be. Okay. So that's one principle, and there are ways to develop and generate and train loving kindness. Okay, and some of those ways are, some of those resources is what I shared in the comment that I made, the resource comment, okay, about the loving kindness meditations. And I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to send you a direct message with that just so you have access to that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And the second principle is that, and maybe I think these go together, is that we can face that. Okay, we can face that situation. We can accept that situation. And whatever it is, it doesn't need to define us. Our ability to face it is also our ability to not be defined by it. Okay? that awareness of that experience, especially your experience at the present moment, to be grounded. And a lot of the getting involved in practices of developing that loving kindness, that loving friendliness is very supportive to being grounded, really being here where you are right now. That ability to be aware of that situation means that we are not that situation. Okay. That is not what defines us. That's not who we are. Who we are is a lot bigger than anything that can be defined or set in terms of words. And so we need to learn that through practice and also having good friends who can support us so that we can see that dimension of ourselves that is totally not defined by those traumas, those past bad experiences. And we can feel that there are avenues, because really, people who have a lot of suffering, people who have a lot of trauma, traumatize other people. People who have a lot of suffering cause a lot of suffering to other people. So knowing about that as someone who's experienced trauma, and sometimes we don't even know about the traumas that we've experienced. We only know about our coping mechanisms to those traumas. So when we are someone who knows about that and has experienced that, we know about those people and that aspect, that quality of mind of great suffering and the embodiment of that in certain people, negative or neglectful, whatever it might be. If we can start to find out about and connect with the other side of that spectrum of people who carry that goodness, it's almost like anti-trauma, and we can start to listen to those people and take those people in, it shows us that side of ourselves that is anti-trauma. That side of ourselves that is not clinging, wrapped up, stuck, knotted, attached, but is actually untangling, refreshing, restarting, cool, open, expansive, fresh, and is very much who we are, who we can be, and how people can be. So that opening happens, that healing happens. Okay?
Okay. Yes. Thank you very much. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's also good to remember you are safe, you are loved, and no matter what, everything's going to be okay, because everything is impermanent. Everything is changing. Nothing's locked in. Nothing's stuck. Nothing's trapped. You can't trap this. You can't be stuck in this. It's opening. It's unfolding. It's expanding out. And that's really at the heart of this healing process. That's what it has been for me.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's go now to commercial.
Hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I do like lots of meditations, and one that I'm struggling with is like the meditations where you're able to meet your spirit guides, stuff like that. And so I'm like wondering, how can I make that connection? Or maybe I am making that connection, but I don't realize it.
Well, I'll be your spirit guide. What better spirit guide than a Buddhist monk who's live streaming here
Yeah.
on Reddit, right?
Yeah.
So, important information for you and for anyone who's here is that there are levels to power in the mind and power in meditation and skillfulness in meditation. So the mind is the brain, we can say, understand in terms of the brain is just like a part of the body. Okay, the brain is a part of the body, and we know about how the body can be trained to great extents. Okay, so if you go to some gym, especially if you go to like a special gym in California or wherever, someplace, you're going to see 6'5" bodybuilding monsters, huge muscles, massive muscles. It's the same. It can be for women as well, marathon runners, something like that, or very, very muscular people, strong people, right? So when it comes to the physical, when it comes to the material, it's not so confusing like who's a 6'5" massive monster bodybuilder, and or who's a unbelievable endurance runner or WNBA player, etc. Amazingly skilled in the body and the way of using the body to be skillful in the world, okay, in strength. So the same is true of the mind. Only the mind, and as a way of explaining compare the brain to a muscle. The level of subtlety and refinement and depth, the complexity of the brain compared to like your bicep or your cardiovascular system is, whoa, it's big, big, big stuff, okay? And when we talk about getting into meditation, getting into spirituality, we want to know about the truth. You want to connect with the strongest, most skillful people that you can, the best resource, the best access points that you can. But if you look on TikTok or if you look on YouTube for spirituality or guided meditations, you're going to be running into all kinds of stuff of chakras and spirit guides and binaural beats and 555 hertz and amethyst stones and this and that and this and that. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that's not useful. It can certainly be useful, okay? And certain fragrances and whatever, it can be very, very useful. But the heavy, heavy stuff, the high level stuff, is not so materialistic. And it's much more about a way of training compassion, training introspection, training investigation. And it's alive. It's like in depth. So a lot of the teachers that I would recommend, for example, for people, and a lot of them come from a Buddhist background, but are, they're more secular than Buddhist from my point of view. They are full-time monastics, women, I'm talking about women especially, and live as a part of a spiritual community that has decades of training and retreats, and it's a full spectrum embodied experience. And that's what we want to rely on for our spiritual training and getting wisdom and working along the path. You can find 1,000 different people on TikTok who say that they're spiritual and doing spiritual teachings. Heck, include myself in that. I don't mind. I'm fine to be in that realm. But there are people, teachers, and I would highly recommend Ajahn Brahm, Thich Nhat Hanh, anyone who's a part of the Plum Village lineage, and these. There's a lot of different people out there who are these high level of spiritual teachings, and this is really what you need to rely on. Things like spirit guides, or even emphasizing chakras, or even people like Wim Hof, as much as you are satisfied with what they are offering, and it helps you to relax or it helps you to be at peace, okay. But in terms of if you really want to go deeper and find out about the truth of reality, or the development of compassion, the development of loving kindness, these kinds of things, usually these general kind of spiritualist people are not really the direction to look into. And a gold standard, and I'm biased in saying this, but a gold standard for spirituality that is not materialistic, it can definitely be found in Buddhism.
Sweet.
And the big heavy hitter teachers that I would recommend are listed in this this comment that I posted. Okay, especially Ajahn Brahm, especially Thich Nhat Hanh, and there's even an app, the Plum Village app. You can search on your phone for a Plum Village app. There's a book recommendation here, and really you have to be willing to look and to try and to explore and to investigate. And if you have an opportunity to connect with someone who you feel has some wisdom, you need to try and bother them. You need to try and ask them. You need to try and follow up with them, because the spiritual path, training your mind and developing your compassion and developing your healing and participating in healing and listening to talks from amazing, empowered women and people who have been on the path for decades solely. There's just like this massive difference between someone who's selling a program or selling an image or selling crystal bowls and sounds, or is doing that part time and then working at McDonald's and has all these relationships or whatever, versus someone who's been a full-time monk or a full-time yogi or whatever for 10, 20, 30 years. There's just a massive difference in that. And so you want to connect with those people and you want to listen to those teachings. I've only been a monk for, 4 years. I'm not putting myself in that category, but I know about these kind of teachers, and it's important that we as human beings, anyone here knows, because I know that you know about the negative side of human beings and people, serial killers and just people who have so much suffering, bipolar and mental health issues and deep, deep suffering, and they cause suffering into the world. You know about, quote unquote toxic, you know about those people. Well, what we need to know about is that you can only be bad to a certain degree. You can only become so unskillful. You can only become so toxic. You can only become so nasty, so much ill will, so much negativity, because it's draining. It's not sustainable. It's miserable. Those people who are like that are miserable. So you can only become so bad. Okay? Even if, you're like trying to shoot people or hurt people, you can only be so bad. And the reason you are bad like that is because you're suffering. That person is suffering. But for goodness, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different world. The more good that you become, the more that you train your mind, the more that you generate peace, equanimity, compassion, loving kindness, concentration, wisdom, the more brighter, the more happy, the more peaceful, the more skillful you can become. Period. So there's a whole nother dimension out there, and we as human beings, if we are suffering, if we are going through difficulty, need to know that those kinds of people exist. And for me, from my experience, the Buddhist community is one of the best access points for that. It doesn't need to be Buddhist. If for you it's a Christian pastor or some guy on TikTok or whatever, then that's fine if that works for you. But there are these people out there, and they give talks, and they're not playing around, and it's not surface level, and they're not trying to sell you anything. And you can get the resource, you can get the wisdom from those people and be empowered by it. So commercial, I invite you to check out some of these links that I shared, look into some of these teachers, and start going in that direction, investigating, and see where it takes you, okay?
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
And definitely important when we are exploring like meditation teachers or things like that. There are a lot of secular ones. It doesn't need to be a monk. But if you do want to find out about meditation and spirituality and you don't know anything about it, if you see someone in a monk's robe, don't immediately think that means that person is basically like a Christian preacher for Buddhism or something like that. It's a different way of life that's not necessarily so religious in the way that we think about religiosity as a Western people or modern people. Okay, so let's go to Andrew.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for your time. I've been following an individual named Sam Harris. He has an app out called the Waking Up app. Some of his work has to deal with the sense of self being an illusion and free will being an illusion. My question to you is, if I'm not able to control which thoughts come to my head, how do I stop identifying as a self with those thoughts and take a thought for what it is without really internalizing it and having a thought turn into a feeling, into an action, into some poor behaviors?
Well, the real answer is not that different from someone asking about jogging. Okay. I want to be a jogger. I want to know how to run. I want to have endurance, these kinds of things. Well, you've got to go out, step out your door, and start to jog, start to practice. And so it's a similar answer. to this kind of question. You need to show up to a few different things in your life. Firstly, and this applies to everyone, anyone, you need to prioritize being generous. So, a large issue that is the main supporting factor for what you're talking about is this constant self fixation, and that the actions that we make are constantly propping up and supporting this self focus and this selfish me, mine, so that everything that we experience, whether it's a thought or a sensation or something that we see or something that we hear, there's this natural inclination to attach to it and that it's mine, like or dislike. So, generosity is this very simple and direct way to practice and to express this and to train this ability of giving up something that is precious to us. But the issue that a Western people, modern people, educated people can fall into is that they want to think their way through this. They want to get to the other side because they feel that they can empathize with what the other side might be like through thought. Thought's not going to get you there the same way that thought's not going to get you through a run. It's a way of applying yourself. Okay, so this is why we need to have not just someone like Sam Harris, although I think Sam Harris is good. I like Sam Harris. I don't listen to him much, but we need to have a community. We need to have a way of practice, a way of showing up. We need a lot of supporting factors, and we need a philosophy or a way of support that has depth to it and that we can come back to regularly. So, practicing generosity, and then following precepts, so different avenues of restraint in your life, and also bringing a level of consideration of virtue to your regular activities in your life, or ethics to your regular activities in life. So don't kill, don't steal, don't speak harshly, be very careful about your sexuality. And this brings a dimension of restraining yourself so that you're less caught up in yourself, or not taking your self fixation, your desire so seriously, so that you're not so tangled up in yourself. And we do that through following precepts so that we're more careful. And it also leads us to this place of mindfulness, to be aware of what's happening in the present moment. Okay? And we need to learn how to live through being aware of what's happening in the present rather than our reactivity to what's happening. And to do that, we need to be generous. We need to be willing to let go of things, to give up, to share things. We need to be willing to moderate our behaviors so that we're not just living like an animal. And in this way, our capacity to let go can become stronger. But from where we are right now, we're rough and tough, selfish, animalistic kind of people. In many ways. It's not that we're bad or evil, but in many ways we're very selfish. So becoming more selfish about some higher level of yourself is not going to help that. What's going to help that is you literally being generous. You literally giving up and sharing something that's precious to you: money, valuables, time, energy, doing good deeds, okay, to help and benefit others. And this is the real way that we start to untangle this self-fixation and become less reactive towards our thoughts and less self-identifying with our thoughts that we can't really control coming up and going away. It's just the nature of being a human. That's what happens. So be generous, do good deeds, and be careful about your actions. Okay.
Thank you.
So let's go to CPA. Go ahead, CPA.
Hi. I kind of had like a not a traumatic experience, but I was in a really bad marriage. I got divorced. I got out of it, and at work, this is 2017, 2018. At work, my manager at the time, he knew all this, and he basically, as a joke, he hit on me, and then long story short, he kind of like uh he kind of set me up in this situation to get fired. And he knew I was going through a lot of mental like health issues in the sense of like, someone really mistreating you, you're going to have low self-esteem, you're going through a divorce, you're spending all your money on a lawyer, and like he knew I had a mortgage and all this, and he set me up for failure. It wasn't my fault. He kind of tripled the workload on me and no one else. Um and but anyway, what ended up happening is I kind of used that experience and wasn't a pushover anymore. And in the past 4 years, I've passed my CPA exam. I've gotten promoted twice. I make almost double what I make, like what I made at the time. Like my life has improved greatly, but I constantly think about him, like almost every day. And I don't know why, because I've been treated much worse. Like, I mean, and in the grand scheme of things, like it actually ended up benefiting me. I would have never left that company. And I'm just kind of wondering why. Just to go back to Celestial's point about like traumatic events, I read somewhere that like sometimes when you have a traumatic event, like it kind of stays in your brain, not because of something wrong, but it's like your mind kind of saying, watch out, make sure that doesn't happen again. So you're always like on, I guess, alert to like prevent that from happening. But I guess my question for you is like, why do I just continue thinking about this particular situation like constantly? It's gotten a lot better from the first year or two, but I just think about it every day, and I wish I didn't. I just don't know why it affects me so badly.
Okay. So recognize, for yourself that that situation is not really someone or something. Okay, you are not a character in a story. That person is also not a character in a story. According to cause and conditions, according to all kinds of interactions through your childhood and through that person's childhood and their parents, etc., they ended up the way that they were at that moment, at that time. What were you thinking about 30 seconds ago, 5 minutes ago? Okay. We can't even keep up with ourselves. And, you sound like a well-minded person, sincere, considerate person. And when you're sincere and you're considerate, you have a little bit more of a grasp on your mind and on your life. People who are wrapped up in anger or greed or, constantly being selfish and rough with other people, they can't keep track of themselves barely at all. They're constantly jumping from one thing to another. So disentangle this story of someone and some experience, this some situation that happened. It didn't happen the way that you think it happened. Period. It really didn't happen that way. Now, your perception of it, what have you, also is constantly changing. It's not what your perception of it was at that time, and it's not what it was 5 minutes ago. So disentangle all of that, that self-involvement with this story, with this you in it and that other person in it. And that other person is even more like just untangled and uninvolved. You've got no idea who that person is. You've got no idea what their intentions were at that time, or the more subtle reasoning why they acted that way at that time. You've got no idea. So other than that, you may need to...
Thing.
What's it?
Like, that's the thing. I constantly wonder why he did it to me. Like, I don't know why I care.
Well, that person doesn't know why they did it. They have no idea why they acted that way.
I assume they were just making fun of me, or like...
No.
I don't know.
People, we overestimate like our force or our power in our lives and our control over what we do and what happens. Okay? Most of it is just cause and conditions, cause and effect. Okay. If you're in a certain environment, you're going to be panicky and upset and acting this way. If you're in a different environment, you're going to be calm and relaxed and happy. 5 minutes later in the difficult environment, you're going to be happy. 5 minutes later in the really wonderful heavenly environment, you're going to feel horrible. It's constantly shifting and changing. We have a very limited ability to control our mind and control ourselves in any situation. Okay. So it's really to disentangle from this real idea of this person. Okay. You don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. It's not someone. It's just an experience, a cause and effect. And your current kind of over empathizing with that or holding on to that is totally different from what actually happened. It's just this built up story that it's kind of like a fantasy. It's a fantasizing. And sometimes it's with a trauma, it's like that experience went down so deep, it affected us so deeply that it just perpetuates itself. Okay? And so the recommendation that I have is, it's okay, relax. It's okay that your mind works like that sometimes. We all have these kinds of things that happen, that get stuck on, that we remember, that we worry about, that we get wrapped up in. Okay. But that's not happening now, period. That's not happening now. And also that it fades away. It's not always there. It's not always like that, but it's certainly not happening now. And even the memory fades away. And it's not really a memory. It's a kind of twisted, fantastical, like attachment that's been wrapped, a knot that's kind of been
That's
formed.
exactly it.
Right? It's just a knot that's been formed. So how I dealt with this kind of experience in my life, not so intentionally, like not what I knew what I was doing, but it's just how things worked out, is starting to branch out and try to find environments and community conditions that will allow me to heal and untangle this knot. If you're staying in the same lane, if you're staying in this same container that you're kind of familiar with and that you're comfortable with and doing the same old thing, well, that knot is going to be the same old way. But if you can take this like energy, because there's a lot of energy in a knot like this and awareness of something like this, if you can take that and start branching out and trying some different things and listening to some different things, then that knot's not going to be able to hold up to that, because it's not really something you're that interested in anyway. But you need to redirect your attention and start to take those steps to put yourself in conditions that are going to support and allow that knot to untangle. One way or another, it's going to untangle. You don't need to worry about it that much. It can't stay there. It can't be permanent. Knots can't be permanent. The earth can't even be permanent. And when I say that, it's okay, come on, whatever. But really, it's the earth isn't even permanent. How much more so this thing that we've gotten stuck on, that's really okay, that we don't need to worry about too much. So people who don't have cancer, they don't need to go to chemo. All right, they keep doing whatever they're doing, wine and the rodeo and the bar or whatever. Okay, you keep doing what you're doing. If that works for you, that's fine. But if you know that you have a knot or you have a suffering and you have something that needs to be taken care of a little bit more considerately, a little bit more compassionately, then you do need to get involved. Okay? And I hope that this will be a kind of a moment or an invitation and an offering for you to have some supportive factors to get involved, okay, in this healing, in this untangling. And you can do it, and you will do it for sure. So relax, and I'm going to send you a message with a video you can watch about untangling trauma, beginning anew. Okay? I'm going to send that to you, and I hope that you'll be able to watch that and enjoy that. All right?
Thank you.
And it's not me, it's someone who I look up to, someone who I think is an amazing, wonderful teacher. So try it. It's a woman as well. All right?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'm also going to add that that link for anyone else who's interested in it to the resourced list. That's the top comment of this post. So hold on here. It's entitled "A Trauma and Beginning Anew," and it's a talk from a monastic, a Buddhist monk in the Plum Village tradition. Okay, so the Plum Village tradition is one of the largest groups of monks, Western monks in America or in the world. They also have centers in France and everything. And they have some of the best teaching resources and community resources for Western people. Okay, so I'm going to put this right under the loving kindness meditation. I'll put it at the bottom. I'll put it at the very bottom. Hold on here. Yeah. So this is a link in the comments on the subject of trauma and beginning anew. And I'm sure all of us will get benefit from watching this. And that's at the very bottom of the comment that I left in this post. And if you can't get that, if you can't find the comments or whatever, just send me a message here on Reddit or leave a comment or find some way to let me know, and I'll send it to you in a direct message or something like that. Okay, and there are a lot of resources, y'all. There are a lot of resources for healing. There are a lot of resources for community. There are a lot of resources for changing your stars, changing your situation out there in the world. And for me, I think there's many good ones within the sphere of Buddhism. Okay, especially Thich Nhat Hanh, the Plum Village tradition, stuff that just we don't connect with, or we don't have any access point. We don't have any billboard that's being put anywhere about these deep, rich, healing, spiritual, compassionate communities that are not particularly religious in the way that we are, like the way that we reject religion as Western people. They are cultural. They have cultural aspects. They have traditional aspects. They have community aspects, but they're not really religious in the way that we think about, like converting someone to be a Christian. One place I can highly recommend is called Deer Park in California. There's a monastery called Deer Park in California and Plum Village in France. So a lot of good places, and I'm around to help out if you need some help in your life, okay, and for these things. So we're just going to bring up a few more people, and I'm getting a little bit tired, so don't want to go too much longer. We're coming up on 3 hours when I started this live Q&A after a 1 hour group meditation and teaching session over on my Discord server. So we'll just go for about another 15 minutes and answer a few more questions, okay? So let's bring up now, let's see, bring up Throwaway. Campbell Soup Official. All right, Campbell Soup showing up here. Hotspot or Hot, yeah. And Sam. Cuz Y. And Honey. Okay, everyone invited to come up. So let's start with Throwaway.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so there currently is a lot of terrible things happening in the world at once, and it just feels like one problem after the other, and it's very hard not to feel depressed and down while it's happening. So what are ways to help you keep calm, I guess, throughout this whole global thing?
So this is a common a situation that a lot of people are finding themselves in, a common state of mind. And there's a pretty direct and simple answer. We are consuming negative things, and we're involved mainly in neutral things in terms of our activities. So what we consume tends in terms of news and kind of the world and outside stuff is generally negative in that it's not particularly skillful. It's not even neutral. It's more focused on like building up addiction to stimulation or consumerism. Like TikTok is tasty, but it's not really good. It's probably more negative in that it perpetuates these kind of addiction states of mind to get some pleasure or get some rush very quickly. And then our activities are more neutral. So we're not doing anything, most of the time, anything particularly bad, like anything particularly for us to worry about, but we're also not doing anything particularly good. Okay? And so because most of the media that we consume is negative in one way or another, and most of our actions are generally neutral in one way or another, we're not really set up to feel joy. We're not set up to recognize the beauty of life, the beauty of being a human being, the beauty of community. So we need to start our searching and our looking for those avenues of peace and those avenues of wholesome community and those avenues of doing good deeds, which is the simplest and the most direct thing that any of us can do. If you want to see a bright light in the world, there's no better place to find it than inside of yourself. And for most of us, the way that we're going to be able to see that and find that is by using ourselves, using this body, using this mind, however less than perfect it might be, to do good deeds, to brighten, to expand, to help, to bring benefit. It's a lot of people who are worse off than we are, mentally or physically. So using what we have right now for the benefit and development and advancement of other people or the room that we're in or the people that we're around or ourselves is a deeply impactful way to start bringing a quality of brightness and appreciation of the beauty that is this human life, the preciousness of this human life. We need to start doing things to help, doing good deeds, and we will very quickly see the preciousness of our life and the preciousness of the lives of the people around us and the environment that we're in. We can start to be grateful for what we have rather than this constant grinding to get something more, to get something better. And the important part of this is our intention. How fully can we touch this intentionality to do good, to help, and then follow through? The intention can be brought to McDonald's, working there, or eating there, although I recommend everyone, when you eat out, try to find a vegetarian restaurant. Try to eat vegetarian when you eat out. It's a really easy way to reduce meat consumption, especially the fetishization of meat consumption. Bring this intention of doing good deeds, of trying to help to any situation. And that's a surefire way to reduce our feeling of drowning in darkness, because it brings that brightness, that good intention, and that follow through. We see it. We see we have an ability to help. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
And anyone here, you can, let me add this to the resource list. It's going to be the Plum Village app. Okay, so search or use your phone, right? We love these apps. Plum Village app for your phone. I'll just write Plum Village app. Download it. And also there's a tool you can use for finding some practice groups in your area for meditation. That's one of the ways that we can start to brighten up this negative state of mind and negative way of seeing is we start to be a part of communities that are actively promoting and generating and empowering happiness, peace, joy, healing. Okay, we can go and attend a meditation retreat. We can look into these things, but we need that intention and that follow through, and that'll take us where we need to go. Okay, Campbell Soup, have a question?
Yeah, I guess more and more recently, I've just been feeling very discouraged, and I'm kind of relatively new to Buddhism and meditation and everything compared to many others. I grew up like very, very strict, like Jehovah Witness, and I left almost 3 years ago. And in finding Buddhism and like I dabble in Taoism as well, it seems very discouraging that like Western society and everything is kind of set against all of the values that I want to have. And I feel like I can never really be fully happy with myself because I am stuck in this life where it's like, no, I have to go to college. I have to work and stuff. I can't focus on what I want to really spiritually. And that's also kind of with my peers where sometimes I just feel like I can't always relate because and I think it's just because I was raised in a very spiritual way that it like I need to be surrounded by it. That needs to be like my everything, I guess. So yeah, it's just how do you deal with knowing that it's like you can't really live up to those perfect expectations? I guess just being in America right now.
Well, we need to find our community. We need to find our own society. The TikTok society, the left society, the right society, the media society, the music society, all of this is not a real society. These are not real relationships. And it's a big issue that a lot of us have is that we don't have real relationships in our lives. Okay? We have what is known as a faux, there's some word for it, but it's like a faux relationship that's based on the worship of some musical person, or we share a certain idea, we share values. Okay, I'm a leftist, I'm a progressive person, so I'm a part of this community, or I'm a part of the LGBTQIA plus, hopefully that's the right letters, community. So, or I am that, so I'm a part of this community. Okay, or I'm white or black, I'm part of this community. So those aren't real relationships. Real relationships means that you talk with someone, you know someone, you can rely on someone. If you need help, you can tell them, I'm having this issue, I'm having this problem. You can rely on them to call them to, so these celebrities or these influencers or these people or these general ideation groups, ideal groups, unless you have are really a part of a community there, you meet together regularly, you're face to face with people, and you know these people, and you can touch this relationship with these people, then you're going to be starved. You're going to be isolated, and you're going to feel disempowered. The greatest power that we as people have is our ability to organize and be in community. Social justice groups aren't going to be getting billion-dollar amounts to use for propaganda. The best person in the world who maybe could be a politician or run for president, they don't have the hundreds of millions of dollars it takes to advertise yourself and to get into the running. President, even a council member or something like that, So the most power that we have is in finding our society, finding our community. You need to be a part of a community. You need to find these relationships with people so that you can feel empowered. And to the degree that you're willing to give up, that's the degree that you're going to be able to get in a different way. Right? If you are attached to school, if you are attached to this society, if you are attached to your judgment about the way that things are, that's all that you can get. to the degree that you are willing to abandon and detach from your society, from your culture, from your beliefs, from your school system, whatever it is that you happen to be involved with, that's to the degree that you can find out about the other side. Different avenues, different opportunities. I grew up in America. I didn't have a spiritual upbringing. Okay. I was a pretty down, rotten person, and I still feel the aspects of that in my life. This proclivity towards harming myself or harming other people, and feeling some kind of satisfaction out of that. And luckily enough, I've been able to turn that on its head and get the joy from helping. Um, but until I was willing to give up, until I was willing to detach, to abandon what I had, okay, to abandon my family, to abandon where I live, to abandon where I went to school, to abandon the way of doing things that I was told that was the way that I needed to do things, that was to the degree that I was able to find something else. Okay. And it's not always negative. For me, it was negative. Like I had social suffering, I had psychological suffering, I had emotional suffering, and that's what I had to abandon. And my way of living in the environment according to that, and my way, the environment's way that said, okay, this is how you deal with it. You get a job, you do this, you do that. It's not always negative. Sometimes it is this high status that you have within your community or within your environment, within your culture, your money, your power that you have to abandon. And through abandoning that, through giving that up, you're able to find a different dimension, a different way of life. So, I abandoned my job. I abandoned my life as a layperson. I abandoned my life as a boyfriend. I abandoned my life as a householder. Okay, and through that, I got my life as a monk. Okay, as a yogi, as a meditator, and through that abandoning, I was able to get something different. To the degree that we are willing to abandon, we're able to get something different. All right. And so the solution to a lot of our conditions that we get stuck in is not to get something else to solve it, but it's actually to abandon our that condition, to abandon that identity, to abandon that way of doing things. And that's how you can find a different avenue to go down and to live. You can become a monk, you can become a yogi, you can visit a meditation center, you can follow up with me, whatever, but you can only do that to the degree that you're willing to abandon what you are attached to now. If you can't abandon, then you'll be stuck on that forever, whatever it might be.
Thank you a lot. That really helps me. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Hot Poot, go ahead.
Thank you. And thank you for your time this evening. I am practicing the Mind Illuminated by Chula Dasa. For that meditation hour, I am pure awareness. And that is how I seem to go about my day. I follow Ramana Maharsha. I am really, there are times I really feel completely non dual, and I understand my essential self. I've had an awakening experience that I'm pure awareness and consciousness. The words are all interchangeable. But then all of a sudden, like I had a medical scare and I started identifying with my body again. And it's no longer just an appearance and awareness, it's now something that I could lose. And it takes me a minute or two. When I say a minute or two, I mean really delving back into awareness and into my spiritual practices to, decondition myself again. So I always wonder, why is there a forgetting at times? Why is there a forgetting of our essential selves once we see it or once we practice it, even, every day?
Okay, thank you. We're ignorant. Okay, you're ignorant. I'm ignorant. We collectively are ignorant. Okay, we share our ignorance nature. All right, and most people are more enlightened about their ignorance nature than what you described. Right, this awareness nature, this untrammeled, unobstructed, undefiled, uncomplicated, uncontrived nature of mind. Okay, that can actually not be disturbed. But for most people, we're more aware of our ignorant nature, and that's good because we are aware of it. So if you can be aware that you're ignorant, then you're not completely ignorant. If I have to, I want to offer my advice to you. You've done a lot of investment in your practice, and I would recommend that you take that investment. And if you're not already, make sure that you are involved with an active, living community and sangha in person, online, regularly, but specifically a teacher. Okay, a high level, in depth, solid, kind of, probably like a Zen teacher. And if you invest to this degree that you've invested, as you've described, there are a lot of opportunities that exist for you to be supported and to connect with community and attend periods of time to deepen that understanding and expand it. So I recommend that you do that, not only within the Mind Illuminated, but also to check out, to use your investment to take a look to see what's going on at this Zen meditation center or Plum Village, France, right? Plum Village, France. We shouldn't waste we make this investment and we get these returns, so to speak. And then we just kind of, well, I'll just do the same kind of thing. Well, don't do that. Invest it and show up to Plum Village, France, or some monastery that's well known for kind of Zen understanding or a meditation understanding, what have you. And I would encourage you to do that.
Great. Thank you so much. I do an online sangha, but I don't have a teacher. And I think you're right. That is the next step.
Yeah, I know a guy who I like. It goes by Jack Wes, and he's a real interesting character who he from a young age had this kind of enlightenment experience, and then he, very kind of enlightened person and able to live in a certain way. And then he had some kind of enlightenment where, he didn't have thoughts, for weeks and for months, something like that, really in depth. And he had this confirmed from a real teacher. We want to have contacts with these real teachers. And actually, it was a similar situation that happened to him. He got a health scare. There was a health situation that came up, right? And he was going to lose this wonderful, joyful, enlightened kind of way of life, right? Where I'm this pure awareness and freedom and peace, right? And so the thoughts and all this difficulty came back. So at those times, we need to have a connection with a teacher. And one of the best ways that we can find a teacher is by looking into active sanghas, active communities. And sometimes there's a person there who you will say, okay, I can take them as my teacher. And to the degree that you invest in your spiritual life, you can reach out to people and say, hey, I'm looking for a real meditation teacher, or look around, show up to sanghas, especially like Zen centers, and see who's there, and see there might be somebody there who has a real experience and can, maybe not, they won't be your teacher, but they'll know about someone who they can possibly connect you with. Okay?
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for coming up. Okay, let's go to Honey. Honey, you have a question?
Yeah, hi there, Banta. I feel like my question's more like your take on something, so your opinion on it. I wanted to ask in terms of, like work, right? Because I feel like everyone's relating to work nowadays, and like our focus is about career and like general stability. Would you say finding work in something that gives you passion, would that be very Buddhist, or does that come from like ego? Because I feel like, in one hand, wherever you're most needed should be a place you should be going. But if it's a place that brings you like most happiness and most passion, would that be the right thing to do, or would that be mainly an ego-based choice?
So, from my understanding, the Buddhist side will be not doing work that is harmful. So, like a slaughterhouse or selling weapons or selling poison or involved in
Of
that
course, yeah.
business is explicitly not Buddhist. So we call that right livelihood. And then the positive side of that would be doing work that in some way does bring a tangible benefit to the world, to others, to yourself. And the side in terms of passion is not so much about passion, but more finding your ability to maintain good intentionality in the work that you're doing. And it tends to be that work that we're passionate about gives us that support to bring our intention to the work. And so if that the passion in that job or the interest in that job supports your good intention, then like to do good deeds to help to bring benefit, then that's great. I think that's really good.
Awesome. Yeah, because I feel like if it's like, yeah, you're being intentional with your choices and therefore becoming more like mindful, then I guess it would be the best thing to do. Because I feel like if everyone's working for materialism, then it comes from a place of like the opposite of what we're working towards in terms of Buddhism.
We should try to bring this intention of doing good deeds and helping and bringing benefit to whatever work that we're doing. The more that you can bring that good intention to whatever work you're doing at McDonald's or wherever it is, high level work, low level work, that's that you can get the real benefits inside from doing that work, not just the material benefits.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and cuz why not? Go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
As a person who's in a very dark place at the moment and has struggled with drugs, suicidal, and in general, very self-destructive tendencies that can't really, at the moment, get outside help or professional help, how would I be able to perhaps help myself in a way that isn't self-destructive, I guess you could say?
Try. And if someone says, hey, you can come and join, come and participate, you need to follow through. And showing up. Okay, showing up, brightening, right? Widening out, expanding out. Okay, you need to crack the shell so we can step out, get some fresh air, get some refresh, get some restart. So you can join the Discord community that I run. We're having group gatherings, group meditations, discussions, and you can be there, be a part of a community. You can show up in our group meditation calls and be there. Okay, and that's I think that would be helpful for me when I was in that situation. Maybe difficult, but helpful. Go for a walk. Okay, it doesn't matter where you go. If you walk to the bottom of the ocean, you're probably not going to come back out, but go for a walk, refresh, restart. You need to get out of there. You need to get out of that place. Okay? And walk and show up and be out, expand out. Because when we stay in our own closed little shell, yeah, we feel that we're protecting ourselves from something, but also we don't see how fragile that shell of suffering actually is, that shell of our self idea actually is. Okay. And I think many times you will find, or we will find, that if someone is in a state of depression, suicidal ideation, great anxiety, they tend to be inside of this multi-layered shell. And that's why that depression, that anxiety, that suicidal ideation has so much power, because they've locked themselves into this shell, and they can't even get out of it at this point. So they think that by harming themselves, they're going to get out of this shell. But in fact, you're just harming yourself. Is That's not it. So know the situation that you're in. Someone invites you, hey, come along and let's try this out. Let's go for a walk. You try to join, you try to follow. And most of us are familiar with using the power of being alone. Okay, that's what most of us are familiar with, using the power of being alone. When you have an invitation to join a group or a community, okay, you have the invitation to use the power of being together with others, right? Using the power of practicing together, being together. And you can feel that. It's really real. Now, you can make a decision if you're in a Zoom call or a Discord meeting or whatever to just leave at that exact moment, whenever, and then you're no longer using the power of being together. But the opportunity is there. And if we are most familiar with using the power of being alone, and we are not skillful in dealing with our suffering, let's try to use the power of being together, right? Being with others. And look, if you're a sick person, and all of us, one way or another, one day or another, 1 hour or another, we are all sick people. We are all suffering people. So, don't feel that you're a crazy lunatic because you have negative thoughts or because you have suffering in your life. We all have that. We're all going through that. If you're in that situation, you need to understand that what you are doing and what you like and the taste that you like is not necessarily exactly what you need. So when you come across what you need, or someone invites you to have something that might be what you need, expect that it's not what you usually taste. Okay? It might feel like a cold shower, but what you need might be a cold shower, and probably is what you need, a good cold shower. Okay? If we aren't able to deal with the things in the way that we want to deal with them, to find our own kind of lane and avenue to heal and to live skillfully and kind of be independent and empowered, that means that we need to rely on other people's support and advice. And if someone is willing to help us and willing to talk with us, try to follow through, try to connect with that person. You can change your stars, and you should try. It's just a matter of making those skillful decisions that have enough wisdom to take a step back from the momentum of your life. Have enough wisdom, have enough, not hearing that knock on the skull, that knock on the brain, to take a step back from this momentum, from this tidal movement that you've been rolling around in for this whole time. Take a step back and make a choice. Make a skillful choice, okay, to take care, to heal, to follow. And in that way, you can grow and you can learn.
Thank you very much. You've been a real eye-opener, I guess you could say. Thank you very much.
Please understand that, I also, before I got into Buddhism and meditation, before I showed up and lived for a year at like an intentional meditation community, and I was exposed to the light, man, was I sick. Okay, psychologically, emotionally. I'm still sick, but I'm working on it. I was just a mess, and I couldn't take care of myself in any freaking way. I was drinking and smoking and looking for more drugs that would mess me up more. And I didn't have any good relationships with anyone. And I would do things to hurt myself and hurt others out of this, just demonic desire, this selfish horror, desire for pleasure or for status or for power, whatever. And it just didn't work, And sometimes it's just the power to stay in our own little shell that we're hanging onto and that's causing us so much suffering. So if somebody knocks on the shell and says, look, all right, I understand, it's a mess in there. Well, get out of here. Come on, let's go play. Let's have some fun, or at least let's, you got to take some medicine. Take advantage of that. Try to follow through. And so a good place to follow through isn't necessarily with me, but you can contact me. The resource list, okay, that I posted in the comments, the top comment here. All right. Resources to support you all on your journey, on your healing, on your development. And I hope that it'll bring some benefit, that you'll have some access, okay? So, my dear fellow beings who are here right now, good or bad, right or wrong, heavenly or hellish, big or small, I'd like to finish this event together with a short reading on loving kindness by Thich Nhat Hanh. Okay, and that's kind of how we will wrap up our event together. Something I like to read. Well, actually, we'll need to do a little bit of a meditation, right? And then this reading, okay? So a little introduction to meditation. So hello, everyone. We're going to do a little bit of a meditation together. So firstly, take a moment to adjust your posture. Okay? Take a moment to adjust your posture. So if you're sitting in a computer chair, you can just adjust your butt a little bit, bring your shoulders back, your spine to be a little bit straight. You can have your feet flat on the ground. Okay, and if anyone needs to see me to follow along, I am also live on YouTube. So that'll help you follow along to see me meditating along with you all. I am on YouTube, and go to the comments, you'll see a link. Can sort by new, I put the link there. So the first things first is to adjust our position and find a comfortable position for the body. Doesn't need to be a special yoga position. It's just a comfortable, simple, stable position for the body right now. Okay? As we find that position to put the body down, comfortable and stable, we can close our eyes and start to give our attention not to the computer screen, not to our ears or what we're listening to, but start to give our attention onto the breath. The feeling at this present moment of the breath. Feeling the breath flow in through our nose and flow out. Also hearing the sound of my voice and aware of the body. Okay, feel the body, feel the breath in the body. But as we close our eyes, starting to turn the mind around. Okay, the mind starting to look inward. Following the breath as it flows into the body and through the nose, through the nostrils, down the throat, the lungs, all the way down deep into the lungs and even down to the stomach. Breathe as deeply as you need to, but also allow the breath to find a natural rhythm. However you're breathing is okay. It's just that you are being with the breath, feeling the breath right now. Following the breath as it flows in and flows out. And as you feel the breath flowing in and flowing out, allowing the mind to fully come home to the body, and for the body to relax and settle. Right now, the body just sitting here, simple, somewhat calm. Following the breath as it flows in and flows out. With each breath becoming more and more aware of the body as a whole. So the whole body just sitting here. Opening our heart, our chest, our stomach to this present moment experience of just breathing, just being aware. It's with this state of being that I invite everyone to listen deeply to this discourse on love. Listening from the breath, listening from the heart, listening from the body. He or she or they who want to attain peace should practice being upright, humble, and capable of using loving speech. They should know how to live simply and happily, with their senses calmed, without being covetous and carried away by the thoughts or emotions of the majority. Let them not do anything that will be disapproved of by those who are wise, or their own inner wisdom. And this is what such a person contemplates. And you're invited to repeat after me for these next lines, okay? You can repeat after me with your inner voice or your outer voice. Repeating after me. May everyone be happy and safe. And may all hearts be filled with joy. May everyone be happy and safe, and may all hearts be filled with joy. May all beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, invisible or visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. So no need to repeat now, can just listen. One who wishes to attain peace contemplates like this. May everyone be happy and safe, and may all hearts be filled with joy. May all beings live in security and in peace. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Just as a mother loves and protects their only child at the risk of their own life, cultivate boundless love to offer to all living beings in the entire cosmos. Just as a mother loves and protects her only child at the risk of her own life, cultivate boundless love to offer to all aspects of yourself. Let our boundless love pervade the whole universe, above, below, and across. Our love will know no obstacles. Our heart will be absolutely free from hatred and enmity. Whether standing or walking, sitting or laying, as long as we are awake, we should maintain this mindfulness of love in our own heart. This is the highest and noblest way of living. Free from wrong views, greed, and sensual desires, living in beauty and realizing perfect peace. Those who practice boundless love will certainly transcend all sufferings. By the firm determination of these truths, may you and all beings ever be well. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, for showing up in this live Reddit talk. I appreciate all of your presence here. For those interested to get more involved in a meditation or some of the ideas and practices that I talked about today, please do consider to go to the comments of this live talk, and you can find a collection of resources that I shared. And also anyone who's here and would like to ask a question to me or speak with me moving forward, or get in touch with more resources, please feel free to send me a message here on Reddit or to contact me in any way that is convenient for you. Okay? Thank you all for being here. Deep bow. May you all be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering. And good luck. Be happy. Bye-bye. We will end this stream with some Buddhist music. So if you like to listen to some Buddhist music, you can stay tuned on to the Monk Radio. But this will be the official ending on my side. Okay.
Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. This is a happy moment, this is it. This is a wonderful moment, this is it. I have arrived in this moment, and the only moment is now. This is it. Only breath breathing, this is it. Only life blooming, this is it. Only interbeing, and the only way is right now. This is it. The holy mountain is here, this is it. The sacred temple is here, this is it. The pathless path is here, and the only place is right now. This is it. This is a happy moment, this is it. This is a wonderful moment, this is it. I have arrived in this moment, and the only moment, the only moment, the only moment is now.
Thank you for letting me fly high, high above the sky. Thank you for letting me smile, smile, smile throughout day and night. Thank you for letting me cry the tears from deep down inside. Thank you for being my light, a guardian angel by my side. Thank you for opening my eyes and making the world so bright. Breathing in, I go back to the island within myself. There are beautiful trees within the island. There are clear streams of water. There are birds, sunshine and fresh air. Breathing out, I feel safe. I enjoy going back to my island. Breathing in, I go back to the island within myself. There are beautiful trees within the island. There are clear streams of water. There are birds, sunshine and fresh air. Breathing out, I feel safe. I enjoy going back to my island. myself. There are beautiful trees within the island. There are clear streams of water. There are birds, sunshine and fresh air. Breathing out, I feel safe. I enjoy going back to my island. Breathing in, I go back to the island within myself. There are beautiful trees within the island. There are clear streams of water. There are birds, sunshine and fresh air. Breathing out, I feel safe. I enjoy going back to my island. In gratitude, you have watered seeds of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude, I will water seeds of love in someone too. I know you're there for me, and I am so happy. In gratitude, you have watered seeds of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude, I will water seeds of love in someone too. And when you suffer some, please call and I will come. In gratitude, you have watered seeds of love in me. In gratitude, in gratitude, I will water seeds of love in someone too.
I am a cloud, I am the blue sky, I am a bird spreading out his wings. I am a flower, I am the sunshine, I am the earth receiving a seed. And I am free when
have dropped my worries, nowhere to go, nothing to do, no longer in a hurry. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries, somewhere to go, something to do, but not in a hurry. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries, nowhere to go, nothing to do, no longer in a hurry. Happiness is here and now. I have dropped my worries, somewhere to go, something to do, but not in a Whatever illumines your path, I will consider as my friend. There are no enemies, no barriers in the heart. There is only wishing you well. Your joy is my joy is your joy is my joy for sure. This is the song in my heart, sing along, sing along. This is the song in my heart, sing along. Whatever illumines your path, I will consider as my friend. There are no enemies, no barriers in the heart. There is only wishing you well. Your joy is my joy is your joy. Your joy is my joy for sure. This is the song in my heart. Sing along, sing along. This is the song in my heart. Sing along. My joy is like spring so warm. It makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain's like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can hear that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so that
joy's like spring so warm, it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain's like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can hear that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names, so that I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open. No coming, no going, no after, no before. I hold you close to me. I release you to be so free, because I am in you and you are in me. Because I am in you and you are in me. No